Welcome to another day in the Matrix, waters above crypto. I hope everyone has had an incredible start to your week. I'm sending you all love and high vibrations. It's been a pretty choppy market over the past 2 weeks, but today crypto is showing signs of strength and recovery as we get closer to the new moon on April 1st. So far, everything from my last video that I released is in play. This market is trading within a tighter range of price volatility day by day, and these are the times to pay attention because this type of behavior in a market is signaling that a breakout is imminent. So in today's video, I'll be starting off with a Gematria decode to share some potentially important upcoming dates, and then move into the charts to do some technical analysis on Bitcoin, Ethereum, and XRP. Also, this Sunday will be the release of Red Pill Podcast number 52. It's been a full year since I launched my Patreon, so I just wanted to let all of my Patreon supporters know publicly how grateful I am for every single one of you. I have so much love for this community, and we're just getting started. So, to kick off the month of April and celebrate our first year of the Mastermind Community membership on Patreon, I'll be doing a giveaway for Patreon supporters for both the Mastermind Community and the Trading Wolves memberships, and I'll be sharing more details on that in the first week of April. Again, my official Patreon is patreon.com/watersabove. Please make sure you follow my official links in the description box of my videos. I do not have a WhatsApp, Telegram, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. I don't have any of that. Please be aware of scammers pretending to be me in the comments section or anywhere else on the internet. I officially run this YouTube channel, my Patreon, which I just gave you the link to. That Patreon links to a private Discord, my website, watersabovecrypto.com, where you can find my courses, and also watersabove.shop, my merch website. Again, that's all linked in my description box. I just wanted everyone to be safe and make sure when they're corresponding with me that they're actually officially corresponding with me, because my channel has grown a lot over the year and there has been many new fake accounts trying to take advantage of my supporters. Again, I am so grateful for everyone's support. I love you guys so much. I just want to make sure that you're all safe. And with that being said, let's get into this video. So if you're new here, we do cryptocurrency technical analysis and combine it with Gematria Numerology and Astrology to understand these markets. Feel free to subscribe and turn on the bell notification to stay updated on when new videos come out. And make sure to give this video a like and share this channel with other conscious beings to help grow this community. And for those of you that want to learn how to do technical analysis and combine it with Gematria, you can join my Mastermind course. The link to my website can be found in the description box of this video and in the pinned comment below for access to the Mastermind course. And with that being said, let's take the red pill. So, we had the last video covering the 322 date, March 22nd. Again, this being the 22nd day in the real month system, the system of the Romans, and March being the official first month. Of course, in the Gregorian system, we're calling this the third month. And as I mentioned before, we need to use what is exoteric so that we can decode and find the esoteric, and that is how we decode what is the truth in plain sight. And that's a very valuable piece of advice for those decoders out there. You know, it's pretty mind-blowing when you have just Wikipedia at our disposal, and people think that that's nonsense, but actually there's a lot of truth hidden right there in plain sight, just like Hollywood movies. So as the preface, I believe that this 322 date, it's showing us something significant. We're seeing a little bit of a rug pull on nickel. We're also just seeing precious metals down a bit. The market has been extremely choppy, but what do we have going on today? The crypto market is looking beautiful. So remember, guys, I'm giving you these dates far in advance to set you up, to tell you, what to expect, what type of volatility we can get. And I already said in previous videos that March 13th was the low, in my opinion. I thought, based on my code and the TA that I was sharing, that was the short-term low in the cycle, and that I was anticipating us moving up into April 1st, which is the new moon. Now, this is typically the way it works month after month after month. Of course, we have eclipses, which are a standalone, but we don't have any eclipses until April 30th. So, of course, we'll get to that when that time comes. But I was very adamant in my last couple releases, just to be calm, relax, let the market play itself out, but don't disregard the lunar cycle, which is 5 days before or after a full moon is typically bearish energy, and that's what we got this cycle. We just saw on the 13th of March, around that time frame, we got our lows, which was 5 days before the full moon. We sort of traded around those lows past the full moon, and now we're here on the 22nd. It's been some days since the full moon, which was on March 18th, and we're getting that recovery. We're showing that sign of strength. Bitcoin trading above 42,000. We've seen Ethereum get to 3,000. This is all a very nice setup. So with that being said, I covered this 322 connection to skull and bones in my last video. Definitely go back and watch it, but let's move forward. So we have the 323 date, and if you were to read this internationally, it would look like 233 for March. So it would look something like this: 23 as the day and 3 for March. 233 is an important number because it's not only a prime number, but it's also a Fibonacci number. So it's the 51st prime number and it's the 13th Fibonacci number. So I want you to remember that 233 is a very powerful number. And with that being said, we're going to use this for the remainder of our decode. I know it might be hard to remember, but you could just, take some notes on this as we go. Pause the video, take notes, and you're going to see why this is all very critical. So with 233 being the 51st prime number, we mirror that 51, and that gives us the 15, and that 15 ties to Tiger here in Chaldean, and we know the Tiger is important because that connects to Russia, it connects to Jupiter, and we're in the year of the Tiger. And I have been exposing how the Super Bowl that we just had, Super Bowl 56, plays a huge role in the exoteric to show us the esoteric. So we're seeing that this big decode here that I've been doing since the start of the year of the Tiger, and how it's manifested itself through the Super Bowl and into this Russia and Ukraine conflict, it's been a 1-for-1 accurate. Like, we're seeing this all play out perfectly. So with that being said, let's just continue on this. We have this connection to the Tiger in 15. We also have that connection to XRP in the 15. And again, this will be the 23rd day of the Roman system, and we can see here XRP also giving us that 23, and we're in the year of 5782 in the Hebrew calendar, the Hebrew year, and XRP also has that 22. Then we have XRP being tied to the 15, which is tied to the Tiger in the Tiger year. So XRP is going to definitely have its year. That's kind of where I'm at. In the transition into 2023, I believe that this is the year for this particular coin. And it does not surprise me how they set up this SEC ritual to be according to this code. I mean, it's really quite beautiful for anyone out there who's patient and sees the big picture. Congratulations to you. You have the eye to see. So with that being said, there's another big connection here, which is the standard date numerology of this date being the 14. And that 14 ties back to Ram. And again, this was part of my bigger decode on the prior Super Bowl number 56, which was the Bengals, which is the Tiger, the Bengal Tiger, and then we had the Los Angeles Rams. So that's a huge connection for us to consider. So with that being said, we know that there's a tie here to the Ram and Ukraine because of the color of the team. And remember, in Judaism, they blow the ram's horn. And what zodiac did we just move to? Aries. So we just entered Aries yesterday in tropical zodiac. So that again is Aries, the ram, right? So this is where I was telling my supporters in my last podcast that I just released a couple days ago, remember how the Super Bowl just went, where the power was in the Tigers' hands, and then in the last moment it started to flip over to the power of the Ram. The Rams started winning, and this big ritual that's going on the world stage and tying it to this prior Super Bowl, I believe is very important, because we're going to see how this all plays out by the code. And during this whole time frame, they're going to blame, hyperinflation. They're going to blame this, that, and the third. But all of you knew, at least, 6 months in advance, it's actually because of Shemitah. That is the real reason why they're bringing up war, conflict, why all this, chaos is going on in the markets, why we have oil trading at near, these crazy highs. I mean, it's all systematically done on this 7-year cycle that I exposed. There's no, confusion anymore why RAM equals 7 in Chaldean. And I'll show you later why this is all very important. So with that being said, tomorrow is actually the 20, so it's the 23rd is tomorrow, 23rd of March, but it's actually the 23rd in like Australia, New Zealand today. So this is something that I was considering, perhaps the 5115 connection that we had. Remember the date being 233 written internationally. That's the 51st prime. That 51 is mirrored into 15, which ties to the tiger. And then we have the 14 date numerology, which ties to the ram. And because of that connection between Russia and Ukraine, this is making me feel like the energy of this war is being canceled out. It's being put on pause for a moment. Now, this isn't to me trying to say that there won't be news, but what I'm saying is the negative energy that it's been bringing this market will be put on a pause. Now, that is very important for people to learn. When we're analyzing this day by day, it's very interesting to see how some days when there's negative news about war, it affects the markets, and some days it does not. This is where my work of exposing Gematria Numerology and Astrology will help you guys, because it gives you the esoteric and understanding behind what's going on, as opposed to what's going on in the world stage through these media platforms. So there's so much more to be said about this, but I believe that this war narrative, it's going to be creating less negativity on the market in the short term until we move into the eclipse, which again is a full month away in April 30th. We're getting close to that new moon, and that new moon is again always more of a bullish energy around that time frame. So with that being said, we have a couple of things to discuss. We have this day of March 23rd, which is tomorrow, being 283 days left in the year. Now, 283 is the 61st prime number, 61. And like we did earlier with the 51, when you mirror the 61, you get 16, okay? So this 16 ties to Russia in Chaldean. Pay attention to this, because I've been trying to show you these connections between Russia, Ukraine, rams and tigers, etc. So this is all very, very basic. Now, this makes me think of an image that I was sent by one of my moderators in Trading Wolves, Jim. So shout out to Jim. Thank you for sharing this image with me. And it was this. It's very popular. Many people are probably circulating this around the internet, but it's showing you that the start date of World War I, World War II, and this Ukraine invasion is all giving us an add up to 68. And what's interesting about this is they're using the date numerology the way that I shared with everyone. This is my favorite form of doing date numerology, where when we have double digits, we consider them as double digits when we're adding them together, as opposed to standard date numerology, which are doing everything with single digits, right? So, of course, this is before reduction. But with that being said, I just think it's really interesting. Whoever made this or whoever figured this out, whenever they figured it out, it must have been quite recent, somewhere around the 25th. For those decoders out there who are aware, go ahead, write it in the comments section. But I have seen this image circulating, but it was until my moderator sent me this image where I started to actually pay attention to it and give it a little bit more, attention. With that being said, I think it's really interesting how they're doing the date numerology the way that I've been doing it on this channel, going back almost a full year now. So it's quite interesting. Perhaps it was somebody who watches this channel. But with that being said, we see that this adds up to a 68, and tomorrow's date numerology will also be a 68 when you add double digits. So you could see 3 plus 23 plus 20 plus 22 equals that 68. Okay, so that's really, really critical for us to pay attention to. There's a tie in here with so many war related things in this whole decode that I shared, right? We have the 233, which is the 51st prime. The mirror of 51 is 15. That ties to the tiger, which is tying to Russia. Then we have the standard date numerology of 14 that ties to the ram. Then we have, we have the 68 again, which ties directly to the conflict between Russia and Ukraine, the tigers and the rams. This is fascinating. But let me go a little deeper for you guys. I know you like when it gets a little bit more tied in with the mythology, so we'll have a little fun with that. Of course, Aries being tied to the god of war, and then also we have Mars, right? And we spoke about that in prior videos. So let's move on to another big character here that ties into this 68 number specifically. Okay, I think you guys will like this. So that 68, it ties to Hermes. But let me just show you something. So this day is a Wednesday, and Wednesday is miércoles, which is the day of Mercury, which Mercury is Hermes. Okay, so we see right there Hermes equals that 68. It's very important how this all ties in. And the mirror of the 68 is again 86, and that ties to Mercury. Excuse me. You could see that right there. And that 86 in the same cipher, reverse ordinal, it also ties to Ripple. And you'll see how this gets very comprehensive later on. So we have that 86 connection, right? This again also ties back to the initial code I was sharing with you earlier, which you see that 103. That 103 without the 0, using the rules of numerology, that would give you the 13. And remember the date being the 233. 233 is the 13th Fibonacci number, okay? 13 right here. So it's really fascinating how this is all tied in. And remember who Mercury is. He's the god of commerce or merchandise. And this is the fake money system we call fiat, right? That is who Mercury is in control of. He's in control of the money we utilize as normal people, just the NPCs. So this fiat, you could see, gives us that 14. And again, 14 ties back to the date numerology of tomorrow, which is on a Wednesday, which is the day of Mercury. And for anyone out there that really studies what's going on here, you might remember the ex-Federal Reserve Chairman, Alan Greenspan. He was doing a bunch of interviews in 2007, 2008, I believe, during the housing crisis. And one of the things that really stuck out to me during one of his interviews was he said this word fiat and he pronounced it like fight, like this, F-I-G-H-T. That's how he was pronouncing it, fight, right? And I believe he was doing that on purpose because he knows that the fiat system is tied to conflict, and it is also tied to war. And, just for fun, conflict. I mean, I've been really fascinated in how this is all showing up by our code. I mean, look at how tomorrow, the 23rd of March, just like we've been talking about this whole video, is the 82nd day of the year, and conflict equals 82. Like, has there been a more comprehensive decode breaking this down? I've been noticing lately that my decodes are getting wild, like more and more wild, and it's on the fly. I actually was just typing in this word conflict in the very last moments of preparing this decode for everyone. And I was like, are you serious? That really equals 82? Like, how could I have thought? But again, that's just how it works. The more tuned into the code you are, the more it just channels through you, and you start to become much more, confident in your decoding, and you need to, have way less preparation. It just kind of channels through you and flows to you. So again, any decoders out there that have been doing this for a while, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So to get this back on track, that big connection tying full circle to Mercury and Ripple, let me just show you that one more time. So we have Mercury equaling that 40 and 86 in the same ciphers. Pay attention to that. And we have Ripple equaling 40 and 86, again, in the same cipher. And then we have Mercury equaling that 103, which is the 27th prime number. And that 27 right there, again, ties back to Ripple, equaling 27 in Chaldean. And that 27 ties back to Jupiter with the same cipher. And Jupiter is the tiger. And we're in the year of the tiger. It's the striped planet, okay? So, and remember, the storm of Jupiter, called the eye of Jupiter, that's the eye of the tiger. All right. You've probably heard that before. So just to, kind of wrap this one up, because we were talking about that 86 in particular with Mercury, and how we had that 86 connection I was talking about a little bit earlier, the mirror of 68. Again, coming back to the picture here with the 68. We also have the 86th day of the year coming up soon. It'll be on March 27th. You can see that right here, day of the year 86, again in the Gregorian system. And why this might be important is because this is 201 days since September 7th, which was the start of Shemitah or Rosh Hashanah. Okay, so that's very important because that 201, again, like event 201, and we know about Agenda 21. So this 201-102 connection is something else that other decoders out there are probably aware of, and you could expound upon more in the comments section. So where I want to go with this, where I think it's pretty interesting though, is this particular day is the 27th day of the month, and you could see the date numerology also giving us that 72, and that 72 we get in money right there, English ordinal. And again, that 27, just like we were showing before, it's the 27th day of March, which is the official first month of the year. And then we have that 22 in Chaldean. That's amazing, right? Because what equals 22 in Chaldean? Ukraine. It even equals 79 in English ordinal, and 79 is the 22nd prime number. Anything that has to deal with 22 this year is absolutely important because we're in the Hebrew year that adds up to 22. So just like money equals 72 and this date numerology equals 72, we also have in the same cipher, Bitcoin equals 72. So it's very important. It's half of 144, which again is another Fibonacci number. So to have one more thing to bring up, perhaps a couple more, knowing me, we have that date numerology right there for the 3/27/2022. It's giving us 18 standard date numerology, and that ties back into Shemitah, giving us 18. And perhaps there could be another thing to keep going with this Shemitah theme. We have the 25th of this month coming up very soon in 3 days, and that gives you the 70 date numerology when adding up with double digits. And 70 again ties back into Shemitah, 70. And when you remove the 0 in the rules of numerology, you're going to have 7, and that 7 again ties back to Ram, 7. And this again has everything to do with Aries, the Ram. And you know those 7s are very big in Judaism, right? So that is very important that we pay attention to that 77. And you see that 23 tying right back into Mercury, tying right back into Bitcoin. It ties back into so many things. So that 23 again can be perceived as 2 3s, and 2 3s is 33, the master number, right? Transmutation. That 23 is the 9th prime. 9 is basically spatial infinity. It's the number for everything. So the 9 is huge. It's a very, very big number to pay attention to. So I hope you guys enjoyed this decode. Lots of interesting things, especially this date coming up with the 68 in it, just like this picture right here with that 68. Perhaps we're seeing over the next 48 hours or so the war narrative getting canceled out slightly for the market to just get some recovery as we move into the month of May eventually, and then we have sell in May, walk away. And the reason for that is because the transition into Taurus and that bull connection, and we'll get there later. So TA, let's do this. Now, Bitcoin is doing great today. It's beautiful to see it actually break into 43. A little bit of trading above this 382 fib. You know, we haven't seen that in a minute, probably going back to literally the very beginning of the month. So you can see that on the day of March 2nd, which again was 2-3. That would be the date numerology for March 2nd. And today having that 2-2. 2-2 transition into 2-3. So we'll see these 23s have been massive because of tying back to the Super Bowl. The Rams scored 23 points and they won the Super Bowl in the year of 2022. The first Super Bowl they won was in the year 2002 and they scored 23 points. It's all tied to Shemitah. It's all tied to this code. So I hope people have learned this by now. You know, it's the same thing that happens with the Olympics. The Olympics have these things called opening ceremonies, and those opening ceremonies show you a lot of the truth before it comes to fruition in our reality. This whole thing is a simulation, a simulacrum. It's all basically coded accordingly. And humanity is given the opportunity to decode it and to wake up and to see what's going on. But people rather, scroll on Instagram or whatever they do. So with that being said, basically what we have here is some positive trading action because we've decided to break this level right here. And I'm going to show you how I was analyzing this over on Trading Wolves basically about a week ago. We have a short-term W pattern playing out right here. So let me draw that out for you. You have the first V of the W and the second V, and then you have your neckline right here. So we've actually attempted to break through the neckline on these days, but then we had a little bit of a pullback into the weekend, and now we're seeing that sign of strength. So what we really want to see is solidified daily closes above this 42,500 level, but eventually it's this neckline here that we need to break. That's around 44,500. Now what we have is a smaller W within a bigger W pattern. And this is a very bullish pattern after especially you've had so much bearish price action over the past couple months since the eclipse and this bigger full moon breakdown at the start of the year 22. So with that being said, we do definitely have some things to pay attention to, but it's this 44,500 area that we really need to break. That's something that I've been talking about for weeks now, if not over a month. So once we really start solidifying daily closes above 44,500, that would be indicative of a move up to 50K very fast. Just because we've had 1, 2, 3, 4 consecutive rejections, if we get rejected again, that'd be pretty awkward. I mean, there'd be nothing wrong with Bitcoin making it up to like slightly above it, attempting to backtest it, but it can't hold. Then it comes to 42 and then bounces off that level at the fib. That would not be like weird because we've been already coiling up so much, and there's probably like a descending triangle within this whole pattern anyway. So, I'm super open-minded to how this goes, but typically based on historical performance of the month of April, things are looking very good. Typically April, especially for Bitcoin, is a great time, very bullish. We have to see how it goes. But then once we get closer to Taurus and we transition into like April 20th, that's when things can get a little dicey. We saw what happened last year, how Bitcoin topped out around the 14th of April. That was right into the transition of Easter. And then we saw a pretty decent pullback. But remember what happened with XRP? XRP literally hit its top for the year and the whole cycle so far on the 14th of April. So it was the 19th of May that we really had a devastating pullback. And then this year we have an eclipse on the 15th or the 16th transition of May. So we can potentially be out of like the bearish energy all the way up until the 30th of April. And today's the 22nd of March. That gives us a pretty substantial amount of time to go. So let's look at the Bollinger Bands and see if we're getting any trading. Okay, so we're getting stopped out by the daily Bollinger Bands. That's a big sign. If we start trading above the topside Bollinger Band, that's a very bullish indicator. I'm also seeing that, we've been bullish on MACD daily, 2-day MACD, 3-day and 5-day officially starting last 5-day closure. So the next 5-day closure on MACD, or just in our charts, is on the 26th of March. That's about 4 days away. That's all within that time frame of the decode that I shared with you earlier. Once we flip green on histogram of MACD on the 5-day chart, it's relief follows that. And it's especially when we're in the negative territories, like we were back here literally last summer, So that's something to keep in mind. You could see that this peak here is very dramatic. If you go back into since the genesis of Bitcoin, this rally that we saw in Bitcoin from $9,000, $8,000 all the way up to like 60K, that was really dramatic. So now that we're seeing how this all played out so far, there's two great things to mention. One, Bitcoin is less volatile to the downside. It's having 50% corrections when it used to have like 80% corrections, but it's still really devastating altcoins still to this day. And it's because Bitcoin has had about 2 extra cycles that most altcoins have not had. With that being said, it's good for Bitcoin holders and the richer people in the game, not so great for altcoin holders. What we do know is that once Bitcoin makes relief to the upside, it will have liquidity roll over into altcoins, and that's where we have what's called an alt season. So we need to see how that goes. But as of right now, I would really be looking for a daily close above the top side Bollinger Band for bullish continuation. And then, of course, we have that 44,500 area that we want to get over just because of structure. To basically continue bullish structure. On the downside, we want to look to the median band of this Bollinger Band around 40K. 40K is a psychological level now. We want to hold that moving forward. Now we have ETH doing incredible. Again, we could see that it's trading within that topside Bollinger Band right there. Let me just zoom in a little bit for you guys so you can see what's going on. So that's something to keep in mind. Like I just told you, a Bitcoin trading above that topside Bollinger Band, typically indicative of continuation. Let me turn this off and just show you a little bit else what's going on. We're coming into a resistance right around this Fibonacci level, the 0.5 fib. Now this is a key level when it comes to like considering a dead cat bounce, but only if I was to pull a fib from this all-time high down to here. The reason I'm not doing that is because I'm looking at this in a more macro perspective, which is better anyways. We have here the high going back to May of essentially a year ago, and then you can see we've made a very nice reaccumulation pattern using a Wyckoff method. We have buying climax, selling climax, automatic rally, which led to an upthrust. This is pretty rare to see, but it is a schematic that's quite normal because it's a long-term schematic. Then after having this pullback, we gravitated perfectly to the 236 fib. That's a perfect level to gravitate down to. And now we're just starting to break this down-sloping resistance that we formed. And let me just show you with the trend line what I'm talking about. So you see right here, we have the prior, this was the high. This is called a bull trap where we swoop down, attempt to make a new high, but it's a lower high, and then we break structure. Then you could see 1 rejection, 2 rejection, 3, 4, and then recently we've just popped above this trend line, sort of back tested it, and now we're continuing up. What is the level we want to break next? It's this guy right here, the high of February 10th. If we could see ETH break above that and get back into the golden pocket, that would be very ideal for the overall structure. And this would be called like a backup phase into a sign of strength, an SOS for those Wyckoff people out there. And again, I teach Wyckoff method thoroughly inside of my Mastermind course, and I revisit it in my advanced trading course as well, available on my website. So with that being said, again, getting above that level right there, about 3,270 would be indicative of continuation to the upside. That would be in line with seeing like a $47,000 Bitcoin. Then of course on the downside, we want to hold this. We really want to hold the 382. I mean, if we start breaking structure on ETH, it could get really ugly just because ETH is still an altcoin with a lot of volatility in its hands. Now you could see XRP is not having as bullish of a reaction right now, and that's making me think about tomorrow. But let's get back to like our decode numbers. Remember how we were talking about the number 68 and 86? Just like here we have that 68, and the mirror of that 68 is 86. And of course XRP hit 86 cents today, moving into the day of Mercury. Of course, right now in Australia, it is Wednesday, the day of Mercury. So I think that's really fascinating. But with that being said, we are forming this right shoulder in this really horrible looking inverse head and shoulders pattern. Again, it's an altcoin. This is what it does. I would like to see, though, daily closes above this 85-cent level because pretty much we only have about 1, 2, 3 closures above this 702 fib going all the way back to the start of the year. So once we could start solidifying daily closes above 85, 86 cents, the next thing I want to see is just trading above 92. If we can see that kind of come to fruition, that'd be beautiful. And again, that would be probably indicative of the move up for ETH as well, something like this. And you know, we could even have like a cup and handle, something like that. That would also be beautiful to see as well. We have this white trend line going back all the way to the yearly high. That could be in line with the cup and handle potentially as well. Something like this. One last retest and then breaking this level right here would be breakout to $1 plus. So you probably move into $1.16 or up to that 382 really quickly. So between here and this level is like the zone for XRP before it really takes off. And I assume they're going to ritualize this SEC thing. I believe this SEC case is probably over behind the scenes, but they're going to keep milking it and making the public like confused until they have a perfect date to talk about it. And I would not be surprised if it was a day in April, because look at what happened back here. The moment we entered April 5th, the 4-5 date numerology, this thing just blew up. And again, why is that important? It's because back when I made my channel, it was around this time frame, and I was teaching everyone how April is Aphrodite or Apru, and that ties to Venus. And with Venus, we have that 54-45 connection. And of course, that 4-4 day, which is April 4th, transitioning into 4-5. The date written internationally of April 5th would be 5-4. We blasted off for XRP. In that day alone, XRP went up 43%, which essentially is almost 44%. Again, this is all coded into the numbers. So it was really fascinating to see that all come to fruition. And here we are, we're like approaching the 1 year anniversary of that time frame. We could see something very similar in structure where we have a pump up, a back test into February, March, and then as we get towards the end of March into April, we recover into this bowl shape. You see this bowl shape right here? And the lows coming into January, it's actually very similar repeat. So I'm really interested to see how the month of April goes, how the time frame of Aries moving into Taurus, the bull, for XRP. It's always an exciting time for this coin. So yeah, with that being said, I think we should wrap this up here. There's a lot of information in this video. Definitely that decode that I shared will make us through the next couple days, see how it plays out. And then I will be doing my next Red Pill podcast this upcoming Sunday. Maybe talk a little bit more about the giveaway we're doing, probably include some merch as part of that giveaway, maybe even a membership to TradingView for a premium subscription. Anyways, I'm extremely grateful for every single one of you, whether you're a Patreon supporter or just here on my YouTube following along this journey. I have so much love for all of you guys. I'm wishing you a beautiful rest of your day. Much love.